Welcome, everybody, back to the More in Common Daily Chronicle. My name is Rodney, and today we are going to talk about the thing we can't let go of from last week.
And I'm Keith. Can't float the hair out today. It's just a bad hair day if it wasn't worse before. But anyway, this is the More in Common Daily Chronicle where, Rodney and I set out to chronicle the journey for our girls and for us to look back upon and see what we've learned along the way. And then decided, hey, let's put it out there, build some community around it, and see if we can learn a thing or two based on the things that we're thinking and trying to do. So, today, the thing that we can't let go, stolen straight from the NPR Politics podcast. But, last week.
What was it? It's assumptions. Oh, there's a little bit of bias, too. Because, so basically we had a text exchange. It was early in my morning, middle of your morning.
Right.
Yeah, early afternoon, middle morning. And I read something. It turned, there was actually a typo on your part, a small one, but because I had already had an idea or a thought that you were involved in something that I was not happy about, I lost it. And I assumed that you were the creator of said thing. And so then that's the assumption. So that was the assumption train. It was like,
and then that led to a direct communication of anger and frustration towards me, to which I then assumed every other piece of direct communication or anger that was expressed afterwards was directed at me. So then I responded in kind, thinking everything he was saying was blaming me, and that wasn't the case. And so the point in all of this is really since we're about anchoring humanity in compassionate conversation, it's a reflection of how often we fail. And this was at a peak. This was a level that we hadn't failed before, to the point where neither of us wanted to talk to each other. And it almost impacted the business that day that needed to get done, because I was really frustrated. And
I do blame sleep deprivation a little bit, a lot of it, but at the same time,
there's a big piece of it. Yeah.
An assumption is an assumption.
Yeah. And so it's something that we talk about a lot. Assuming intent is this thing that we all do, because when we hear someone else say something or read something else someone said, especially if you read something someone said, you're going to assume, based on your own past experiences, biases, background, whatever it may be, those words to reflect how you feel, maybe not so much how they feel. And, I look back at that text thread and think, boy, there could have been an opportunity for me to just make sure that what Rodney was saying beyond that point was in fact what I was interpreting.
The point where I was like, I blame you.
Yeah. Versus projecting it, because in a conversation, there are a bunch of moments that will allow for a negative effect to happen. And in that, I just took it on. I let my ego go wild, and just basically said, now I've got to defend myself, fight or flight. And I took on the fight instead of taking a pause and sitting back. And I think the reason it's important, one, our platform is there, but two, it's it really could have affected the business in a momentary negative way. But that type of interaction for a lot of people can affect business in a much bigger way. We just happen to practice this all the time. So in those moments, we have the tendency, we know we need to figure something out. So we ended up getting on a call, talking about it, clearing the air, and then it's been great. We're good. There was no harbored resentment. But I think it's just really important to talk about.
For me, there was the moment of realizing that I made an assumption, and then I went back and reread the text, which was littered with confirmation bias. So I was like, yeah, Keith did this, and then I read the text at the typo, and I was like, oh yeah, he did this. Yeah, that's him. And then I reread it, and I was like, oh, that was obviously not how he meant to type that, and I just read it how I wanted to read it at the moment, and that actually helped me calm down. It helped me be like, okay.
You're reflecting, and it actually, when you did that, it changed my mood towards the conversation. that moment of levity, because I actually wrote out an email that I'll never send to you. It was very unpleasant.
You do burn emails, right?
Yeah, it was a way for me to kind of make sure that I wasn't losing my mind, and I went back and read it. But there was a point in there that, like, you called me on how I was responding and just the general reaction, that when I read it in my own bubble, I didn't read it that way, right? So gave me an opportunity to mimic. Yeah, no, I definitely took this on myself.
This is all real hard because, like you said, or I'm changing how you said it, but same thing. Like, we're all storytellers. We, in nanoseconds, I don't even know, like, what's the smallest second? Like in,
like a Planck time.
In Planck time, well done. We tell our.
Here I am with my physics references again.
We instantly know somebody else's reasons and motivations and emotions and what they did this morning and who they are because of the thing that just happened. And if you think about it, like, it's so ridiculous because it's so out of context. And if someone did it to us, or when someone does it to us, we're like, that's unfair and that's ridiculous, and how dare you judge me based on a typo, or like, I had to get over because this is my exit and my daughter's screaming in the back, or whatever it is. And it's this moment of needing to give grace to somebody else, but we're emotionally heightened. And so trying to get to a place where we're not assuming, like, ideally, like the Zen moment, the Zen Master Moment on it would be, I'm assuming positive intent. Like, I'm assuming you actually meant the best of the world. But I'll say, and with that, it's a lot easier and still really hard to just not assume any intent. Just to not ascribe any meaning to what somebody else just did without asking them. Like, that should be just a rule. Like, what did you mean?
Yeah.
Helmet.
No, and it's interesting too, because there was an early part in that conversation where I was literally telling myself, this isn't about me. Rodney hasn't slept in 6 months. Like, there's a lot going on right now, and he's probably just frustrated about something. And so this is the point. Like, at the beginning of the conversation, I was in the right headspace, and then it progressed and I wasn't. And then it just kind of dubbed. So the point there is, like, it can happen in any point of a conversation. And sometimes, like, it doesn't necessarily make the interaction positive, but it's how you respond to the interaction later, so you can move past it, keep moving forward. So if you're working with somebody, you work better no matter what. If you're in a relationship, you can get past it and it doesn't linger and it doesn't harbor. And I think that's the ultimate point in summary of this, is, like, not assuming intent doesn't necessarily happen just in the moment, but how you reflect on that moment as well, and try to take the opportunities to ask what the other person means by it, rather than assuming it's a blow to your ego and then it blows up into this big, massive issue.
I just thought of something. Assume but verify, because, like, I would love to say, like, don't assume, but
that's even better.
It seems to be a very human thing. Like, we assume. That's how our brains work. So it's like, okay, I think that you're an a-hole because you just did this, blah, blah, blah. Let me check in. Okay. Actually, it turns out you
treat your assumption as a hypothesis, and then test your hypothesis by asking a question. I like that. So I want to flip it. Rather than asking a question here, I want to put a challenge out there and then share with us. Like, we're all home right now. You know, there are a lot of tense moments and maybe not so tense moments. Challenge, like, take the next conflict, whether it's big or little, to challenge your assumption, whether it's to not assume or to assume but verify, and then come back to that situation and see how it ultimately progresses, and then share that with us. I'd love to hear the story on if it worked for you or if it didn't.
I'm gonna get a chance to practice that today. You know, with little people, it's really like, you get to do this all day long. It's like, oh, she's being so bad. It's like, no, she's just having a bad day.
With kids, Yeah. So saying, I was like, what's happening today in your life? So yeah, challenge. Let us know. Would love to hear your story. And with that, don't forget, before COVID, after COVID photos, when you finally get your haircut. We'd love to see them because you're going to see ours.
And hey, you know what? If you've got a barber or a beautician or a stylist, maybe they can't work right now. Maybe you throw them a little scratch, pay for a haircut in advance. I'm just saying, it's an idea. You know, they're not able to get out to work right now. I don't know how you cut hair from 6 feet.
You can't. I mean, Edward Scissorhands, maybe? All right.
Not 6 feet. Too close.